There, far away, in her room. From the top of the tree, Vidar stared fixedly at her. Vidar knew very well why. The news of Ivan's death must have made her like this, because she could no longer predict what might happen next. But, you said you didn't need me anymore. Vidar bit his lower lip violently without realizing it. In the end, you too. Then he remembered Ivan, whose arms and legs were completely crushed, letting out a painful groan, but still smiling with a crazy smile. You are also no different. When Ivan said that, Ivan's face was already half burned, and this was no exaggeration. Of course, this was Vidar's own doing. And you being angry with me like this, it means more. Vidar had used the Book of Memories to see all the closing drawings showing Presepe being brutally humiliated. But to see it with his own eyes, right in front of him, was something completely different. Ivan's face, menacingly grabbing Presepe by the hair and dragging her into the flames to burn her, haunted his mind ceaselessly. A strange feeling began to burn in his stomach, while his heart, on the contrary, began to grow cold. Anger? Is this what they call anger? Is this really anger? So, why am I angry? The Demon King doesn't care about Presepe one bit. When Ivan said that, he burst out laughing madly. The Book of Prophecies was right in everything it wrote, wasn't it? No. Not so. Vidar felt like screaming, but strangely, his voice did not come out. You were just like them. You wanted to take advantage of me, right? You wanted to take Presepe from Fenrik. Just as I was exploited by Dietrich. But that was a completely wrong conclusion. The only reason Vidar helped Ivan escape, and allowed him to get close to Presepe, is because the system did not collapse despite the deaths of Atari Hannon and Noah Deverne, and despite the fact that all the characters except Ivan regained consciousness. This means that there is still a setting value associated with Precipice. Ivan had gained consciousness, but unlike the others, he did not remember anything from the previous sessions. Vidar only had a hypothesis. Perhaps memory recovery only occurs when the original setting value set by the system collides with the new awareness resulting from the glitch. After the glitch occurred, characters like Dietrich and Siegfried were completely different from the original settings the system gave them. As for Noah, Fenrik killed him before the glitch even occurred, and Atari, who immediately regained consciousness and memories, was also killed directly by Fenrik. So Vidar could only guess. But for Evan, his new consciousness was completely identical to his original settings in the game. That's why he didn't remember anything, and that's why Vidar thought he just needed to push him a little. At first, Vidar thought that killing everyone would hasten the collapse of the regime, but that did not happen. And that was his fault. So he no longer intended to let Fenrik kill them all. Rather, he was thinking of keeping them alive and making them fight among themselves. Perhaps that would be more effective in hastening the collapse. You think I'm the only one who lost. But you too, Vidar. Presepe already loves Fenrik. Vidar did not wait for Ivan to complete his words, but ended his life immediately. It happened in one moment. As he did one day with the family of that child, who no longer even remembered his features, when he wiped them all out with one blow. If this feeling that Evan talked about is really anger, so why me? Why do I keep getting so angry? On Gexent Street, where corpses were scattered, Vidar's white face, stained with Ivan's blood, slowly began to writhe. All of this, because of you. Vidar quickly muttered, his voice dripping with malice as he stared at Presepe, because of you. Because you weren't looking for me. Because you were looking at Fenrik with those eyes, and saying that he was someone dear to you, and saying that Fenrik was completely different from others. No. Please, wake up. Duke Fenrik. The scene is still clearly present in his mind, inside that church, when Presepe was holding Fenrik to her chest while crying bitterly after he fell to the ground, stabbed in the heart. Back then, Fenrik was in a very similar form to him. Even he was covered in Ivan's blood. So, if I were the one who fell in front of you right now, would you be crying like this too? Would you look at me with that face? Were you going to scream for me to wake up? Vidar couldn't understand this situation at all. This is because he did not have full human emotions, and because he lived for thousands of years without any real communication with anyone. Therefore, he didn't even know how to explain his feelings. All he did was act out, like a little child begging for love and attention. But one thing he felt instinctively, that no matter what happened to him, Presepe would not cry for him as she cried for Fenrik. I don't care anymore. So, don't tell me weird things again. I won't listen. Why don't you want to look for me? Have you decided not to leave the game? What do you intend to do then? Do you plan to live in this world forever? No. If you don't intend to leave this world and return to reality. So, if I had met you in a normal way, without making up everything you did, would you stay by my side? Forever, without you leaving? It wasn't long before Vidar realized the source of this anger that had been consuming him ever since he read Precipe's notebook was simply because you wanted to leave. You're the one who broke me like this, and you want to abandon me again, without any guilt, and leave. Yes, that's why. Vidar's clenched fist shook violently. Through his blue eyes, shining in the sun like the sea, he saw Presepe raise her head suddenly in a distant room, as if she had been surprised by something. Moments later, Fenrik entered. He couldn't hear what they were saying because of the distance, but they seemed to be talking seriously. Then, after they had finished talking, Fenrik turned to leave, but Presepe reached out and caught him. She pointed to a place on his body, where Ivan's sword had hit him. She seemed to say something to him, and then Fenrik sat on the edge of her bed. He took off his coat and unbuttoned his shirt, revealing the blood-stained bandage, and Vidar saw her go to get a new bandage. Her movements were very careful as she removed the old bandage, sterilized the wound, applied medicine to it, and then carefully wrapped the new bandage. She still had a look of worry, but her look was a little different than before. It was a look full of interest, the look of someone who sees something very precious in front of him. Just as she told Vidar one day. Vidar automatically extended his hand towards his chest, precisely to the same spot where Fenrik had been injured. It was ridiculous. He wasn't injured, but he felt a throbbing pain there. He had a strong desire to burst into the room at that moment and drag Presepe away by force. You are not Fenrik's property. Fenrik is not the one who can save you. Only I can do that. And you. You, my king. But Vidar could not find the words to describe this overwhelming feeling that swept through him. It was a dirty, miserable feeling, jealousy in all its ugliness. However, Vidar, who did not fully understand human emotions, simply interpreted them as anger. An anger that kept multiplying and multiplying until it made him want to kill Fenrik, just as he had done to Ivan, and burn him as he had burned him. That murderous desire never stopped sweeping through his body again and again. Unfortunately for him, Vidar had not expected what was happening now. He never imagined that Presepe could have true feelings for Fenrik. Thus, something happened that was not in his plan at all, and it awakened feelings within him that he had not expected. Never.